Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Tom.
Hey, it's day 3 of our literature unit. And our classic novel that we picked was Little Women, which was written by Louisa May Alcott, who also wrote Little Men and Joe's Boys. I can recommend all 3 of these novels. They're really good. And they're not too difficult. They're pretty fun to read. There's a lot of action. The personalities of the characters that she writes about are kind of fun. And you don't feel like you're reading like a book that was written so long ago. It kind of feels modern to it. There's a modern feel to the books, to her characters, to the people. Well, today, as we always do in day 3, we're going to be talking about some of the themes in Little Women. Perhaps some of the ideas that Alcott wanted to communicate through her characters and through the plot or the summary of her novel. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but first, as we always do, we're going to read through the lesson. As a story written for and about young women, Little Women deals with many themes relevant to young people. It shows the conflict between familial duty and personal growth, as well as gender stereotypes and expectations. It also shows the complicated relationship between wealth and happiness. The sisters are expected in 19th century society to be dutiful to family, and they respond to this differently. Meg and Beth both focus on their duties to their immediate families, fulfilling their expected roles as women of their time. Joe and Amy, meanwhile, pursue their passions on their own instead of staying at home. The 4 girls' lives show that womanhood can take many different forms, each with its own value. Little Women was written when women's rights were beginning to change, yet stereotypes about gender roles still existed. Among the sisters, Jo defies gender expectations the most. Though encouraged to be ladylike, she's opinionated and awkward when she's younger. What's more, Jo is intent on earning a living, which was considered a man's duty. Laurie, too, defies some expectations placed on him as a man. He wishes to learn music, seen as a woman's hobby at the time, and prefers the more feminine nickname Laurie to his given name, Theodore. Finally, the book speaks about how being rich or poor can influence happiness. Though the March family lives well enough, they can rarely afford the finer things in life. This especially frustrates Meg and Amy, who want to be esteemed in high society. Yet through their hardships, all the girls come to realize that love and family mean more to them than being wealthy. Their happiness ultimately comes from the close relationships they have with one another.
Okay, again, we're talking about the sisterly love of Little Women. And again, we're going back to the novel itself and talk about some of the themes and ideas that we find important here. So yes, it's about sisterly love, the love between sisters. Of course, if you talk about the love between brothers, that would be brotherly love. But this book is about sisters, so it's sisterly love. And as a story written for and about young women, Little Women deals with many themes relevant to young people. Relevant means having something to do with something. There is a relationship between the two. So if you read this book, you can see some ideas that would pertain to you or would be important to you if you're a young person, especially if you're a young girl or young woman.
Yeah, kind of teenage age. I think I mentioned in the first day I read this, I think in 6th grade, maybe 5th grade. I was a big reader back then. That's pretty much all I did was just read. Well, it shows the conflict between familial duty and personal growth. How much responsibility do we have to our families? and to make, our parents and our brothers and sisters happy. And how much can we just do what really fulfills us, makes us happy as people? Just, you have your own goals, and then your family sometimes needs you. I often think about that. Tom, you probably do too, because we live so far away from our families. Sometimes I feel guilty that I'm not home more helping or being more of a help to even my sisters by, babysitting, doing things like that. I'm way far away, so I'm focused more on myself here for sure. You'll also see Alcott, she writes more about gender stereotypes. She was very progressive, and so she wanted to see women have more opportunities than they had back then, especially. And also the expectations that society places on you. She didn't want to get married. She just wanted to be a writer and have a big career. And yet society was telling her, oh no, all good women must get married and have kids, and you don't earn a living. Especially back then, it was weird.
Yeah, of course, you could probably aspire to those things, but it would be a lot easier for you if you just be a good little girl and get married and take care of the family and stuff like that. So some of these ideas are expressed in this book about gender stereotypes and expectations. And it also shows the complicated relationship between wealth and happiness. So yes, we often say, well, what do they say? Money can't buy happiness. That's kind of making it sound really simple. If you don't have money, you can still be happy. But it's a lot more complicated than that. The relationship between wealth and happiness, we always talk about, well, rich people are happier.
That's
but
not true.
At the same time, we think, well, their lives are more complicated. Their relationships are kind of strange. People like them just because they have money and stuff like that. So yes, it's not as simple as it looks. It's very complicated. It involves all sorts of different factors.
The sisters are expected, at least in this particular point in time, we're talking about the 19th century society that they lived in, which is the 1800s. They were expected by, everybody living then to be dutiful to family. If you're dutiful to family, your main concern is to be there to support your family. Remember, their dad was serving in the army, so instead of going off and playing, they probably helped their mom more, tried to pick up some odd jobs so that they had more money. I know some of the odd jobs back then, at least for women, would be like sewing, taking in sewing, or laundry for some of the wealthier families. If you could, yeah, it was hard work back then. So that would be a way to be more dutiful to family. The sisters have different personalities, remember, so they all respond to the expectations of society a little differently.
Indeed, and of course it was probably considered quite radical at the time. And Meg and Beth, again, these are two sisters here, they both focus on their duties to their immediate families, fulfilling their expected roles as women of their time. So your immediate family, of course, is the family closest to you, your parents, your siblings, whereas your extended family would be your cousins, your aunts and uncles, maybe your grandparents and stuff like that. So yes, they have these duties to their immediate family. That's what Meg and Beth focus on, so they need to pay attention to them. That's their priority. They can't be so selfish and consider going off to university and having their own career. No, they've got to pay attention to the concerns of their immediate family.
Yeah, especially if their dad is out of the picture, or maybe they do have a sibling or even a parent who's ill. You need to be focused on that first instead of going off and finding your own personal happiness. So, yeah, we've got Meg and Beth. And they tend to focus more on the family and how they can help their immediate family. Joe and Amy are very different. They are pursuing or they're wanting to pursue their passions on their own instead of just staying at home. Meanwhile just means at the same time something else is going on. So we've got Meg and Beth doing their thing, and at the same time we've got Joe and Amy who are pursuing or chasing after their passions. So yeah, they respond to these things differently. I see that in my own family too. To pursue can mean you're actually following someone in order to catch them or maybe attack them. A bad guy could pursue someone down the street, or maybe the police are pursuing someone who just robbed a bank. But it can also mean just having a goal of attaining some sort of goal that you have in mind. You want to accomplish something, so you pursue something. Here we're using it that way. They're chasing after their passions, things that really bring them a lot of fulfillment and joy on their own instead of just staying at home.
Right. We could pursue our own passions. If you're interested in, say, a mountain climbing or something, you could do that. Or your art or whatever, you can pursue your passion instead of concentrating on your family. And the Four Girls Live show that womanhood can take many different forms, each with its own value. Before we take a break here, we'll talk about the word woman here, womanhood, the state or condition of being a woman. You could use that in a lot of different situations. Motherhood, if you're a mother, it talks about fatherhood, etc.
Parenthood.
There you go. Those are several examples of the suffix hood there, womanhood. So womanhood can, of course, take different forms, as you ladies all well know. Okay, that brings us to the end of the first part of our lesson for today. Time now to listen to our Chinese teacher.
Hello, my name is Shelby. 我们继续讨论《小妇人》这本书以及它背后代表的含义吧。第一段第一句 As a story written for and about young women, Little Women deals with many things relevant to young people.As 呢，在这里是当介系词，身为表示身为一个故事，主要动词 deal with 处理，也可以用 handle 或 take care of 来表示。Relevant to something 与什么有关，在 to 的后面加受词，表示与这个人或事情有关联。另外有一个生字，同学会常遇到。Related 也是表示相关的，但是它们的意思一样吗？ Related 是表示两者彼此之间的关联，而 relevant 是表示与什么有关，意思不太一样。好，小妇人涉及许多有关年轻人的主题。接着呢，我们来看第二句。第二句 It shows the conflict between familial duty and personal growth.它展现了家庭责任与个人成长之间的冲突。Familial 家庭的 familial duty 家庭责任，而 familial relationship 家庭关系 as well as gender stereotypes 在这里呢 as well as 是当介系词，表示也和的意思。句子如果是用这种结构，它的意义重点是在前面，而不是跟在 as well as 后面的东西。Stereotype 刻板印象，尤其是指错误的印象。Gender stereotype 就是性别的成见，也可以说成 sexual stereotype。好，第二段第二句 Meg and Beth both focus on their duties to their immediate families. Immediate 立刻的或紧接的Immediate family 表示直系的亲属，例如父母或小孩等等。那逗点之后的 fulfill 用现在分词格式，表示是分词构句，有主动能力，意思是实施、实现。Their expected role as women of their time 表示在当时所期望的，当一个人身上背有别人的期许的时候，就可以用 expected 来形容。Of their time 表示当时他们的年代，放在名词的后面来形容 women。在第四句的中间 That womanhood can take many different forms 女性可以有许多种不同的面貌。 Women food 加在字尾是抽象名词，代表某个身份等。Childhood 童年时期， Motherhood 妈妈的身份，而 womanhood 就表示女人的身份。Take forms 采取什么的形态，中间放形容词形容 forms， 但是你要小心，若 take 和 form 写在一起变成动词片语 take form， 它是逐渐成型的意思。 The idea of traveling gradually takes form， 旅行的想法逐渐形成。这两个动词的文意完全不同哦，要小心。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. We're talking about some of the themes, the ideas that are found in our novel Little Women, written by Louisa May Alcott. And when we left you, we were talking about the expectations that these sisters were living with because they were born into 19th century society, probably more mid-19th century, you could say. We know that the Civil War was ongoing, which places it in the 1860s. So, yeah, they had to figure out whether they wanted to be dutiful to their family or just forget that and go off and do their own thing, kind of more of a selfish pursuit of their own passions. We have 4 sisters, 2, Meg and Beth, tend to focus on traditional expectations. They're okay with that. They want to get married, and have kids. Although, I have to say, we don't really know what Beth wanted to do. She was always so ill in the book that she didn't have a lot of choices. But she tended to be more traditional in the way she talked about life. Then there are Joe and Amy. Joe wants to be a writer. Amy wants to be a painter. And, they want to paint the town red. They want to get out there in society and see what's out there for them instead of just staying at home, marrying some guy, who lives in the neighborhood, having kids and never seeing the world.
So of course, nowadays when we think about women's liberation and women's rights, we tend to think of the 60s, but this movement, of course, goes way back to the 1800s, actually. So Little Women was written when women's rights were beginning to change, yet still stereotypes about gender roles still existed, and they still exist today. Of course, a lot of people have some very firm beliefs about the way women are supposed to behave and the way men are supposed to behave. So those are stereotypes about gender roles. You're supposed to stay home, be a dutiful wife, and take care of your kids. And if you're a guy, you're supposed to go to college, get those degrees in business or engineering, get a job and make lots of money, and bring home the bacon.
Okay, so you can see that this particular subject was something that existed way back then. So, though encouraged to be ladylike, Jo, who defies gender expectations the most, we find out she's opinionated and awkward. If you defy something, you reject it. So, if you, for an example, teenagers go through a period in life where they defy their parents sometimes. Maybe you're told, you gotta get home by 10 o'clock, and you defy your mom or dad by coming home later than that, which is really bad. Well, she defied gender expectations the most. She didn't want to be the traditional woman that she was told she needed to be. She was encouraged to be more ladylike. If you read the book, see the movie, you can see that she runs and plays a lot, which, they have those long skirts on, guys. That's kind of hard to do. But that made her happy. She's also opinionated. If she doesn't agree with you, she'll tell you. And she was also kind of awkward. Remember Meg? We described her as being elegant, graceful, classy, stylish. Jo was often dirty, because she'd been outside playing, wasn't very graceful, didn't want to go dancing, that sort of thing. When she was younger, she was like that. What's more, Jo was very intent or focused on earning a living, which only men did back then. That was considered something that a man did. It was his duty to, earn a living for his family, take care of his family, and the woman stayed home and raised the kids.
Yep, she has this intention. She wants to be independent and earn a living, make her own money. But at the time, that was considered something a man did. And Lori, remember, that's the neighbor boy. He's actually a boy, but he's got a girl's name here, at least a girl's nickname. Lori, too, defies some expectations placed on him as a man. So, yeah, he doesn't want to follow the stereotype of being a man. He actually wants to learn music, which was seen as a woman's hobby at the time. Remember, girls always take the piano lessons, and the boys don't really do that so much, unless they're planning to become a world-famous pianist or something like that.
Well, the composers, remember, those guys, they could. But yeah, that was very unusual.
Indeed. So, yeah, he wanted to learn how to play the piano or the violin or something like that. And he was probably ridiculed by his peers for that. Hey, that's something girls do.
That's
why are you
girly.
doing that?
Yeah,
why are you learning the piano? Boy, you're not much of a man, are you? So he wants to learn music, and he prefers the more feminine nickname Lori to his given name Theodore. Theodore is kind of formal. Its informal version is Ted, which is okay. But yeah, if I were named Theodore, I wouldn't want people to, hey, Theodore, why don't you come over and play some basketball with us? That sounds weird. Although I don't think I'd like to be called Lori either. But he prefers this nickname. It's more feminine and not so masculine. So feminine means having more to do with women or females and not so much with men. Femininity, to be feminine, more like a woman.
Right. So, yeah, we're looking at this from both sides then, right? Joe wants to be less feminine, or she is less feminine, and Lori is actually more feminine than masculine. So finally, we've also got the book speaks about how being rich or poor can influence happiness. Now, we know that a book can't really speak, right? But we're using this phrase just to, vary or to give more variety to our reading and our writing. Here we're writing. So a book talks about, or the book focuses on how being rich or poor. You could use all of those, but you can say speaks. I hear talk more. The book talks about blah, blah, blah. Again, a book doesn't talk, but we use these phrases when we're writing to talk about what it contains or what's inside the book. Though the March family lives well enough, you don't look at the family and go, oh my goodness, they're so poor. Oh, they don't have enough food to eat. They do, but they can rarely or very infrequently, hardly ever, afford the finer things in life, like going to a ball and having a beautiful ball gown. Those things were very, very expensive, and only the really wealthy could go. So they could rarely, or not very often, hardly ever, afford the finer things in life. To afford something means you have enough money to be able to pay for something. Maybe your parents couldn't afford to send you to college, or maybe your parents couldn't afford to let you go to Europe for a year after you graduated just for fun. But the rest of your friends were going. It didn't seem fair. So there are a lot of things that you can't afford to do. Sometimes we use it for time, too. I can't afford to go tonight to that movie with you because I got to get some homework done. So afford. Having what you need, usually it's money, to do something.
Yeah, and Meg and Amy, of course, are uncomfortable with that poverty because this especially frustrates Meg and Amy, who want to be esteemed in high society. So if you are frustrated, that means you just can't get what you want, and you go, ugh, I'm so frustrated. I want to be rich, but we're poor. Everybody thinks we're just some poor slobs. I want people to see me as a high-class rich person.
Yeah. To be esteemed means to be respected. So, yeah, she just wanted to be a higher social class than they really were. Yet through their hardships just refer to the hard times that we all go through. Nobody has a life here on this earth where they don't have to suffer at some time or another. So through the hardships that they go through, all the girls come to realize that love and family mean more to them than being wealthy. I think all of us who have gone through both those things figure that out at one point in life. Now, their happiness ultimately, or at the end, or finally, their happiness really comes from the close relationships they have with one another. And you feel good when the book ends because you know those sisters have been loyal and supportive of each other and their families. Right now, guys, we're going to wrap up by listening to our Chinese teacher one more time.
第3段第4句的地方 What's more, Joe is intent on earning a living,which was considered a man's duty. Joe 执意要赚钱，但是这个被认为是男人的事情。What's more, 而且是惯用语 What's 加比较级，表示更什么的事。例如说 What's worse, 更糟糕的事。Be intent on something, 执意要做。Intent 是专注的，后面加 on 或 upon something。也可以当作名词表示意图，它的本意并不是想伤害谁。It was not his intent to hurt anyone. 在第4段的第3句 This especially frustrates Meg and Amy, who want to be esteemed in high society. Frustrate 使沮丧，主词呢要用事情或东西，不可以用人。如果你想要用形容人的话，你就要用 PP 的形态，表示感到沮丧。那 Meg 和 Amy 呢，感到沮丧，他们想要在上流社会受到尊重。Be esteemed 受人尊重的 Esteem 是尊重 Self-esteem 就是自尊。High society 是指上流社会，基本上 society 一词就有社交界或上流社会的意思。当然，有人也把它讲成 polite society。在第4句的中间 All the girls come to realize... come to V 原形，逐渐变成或者是最后变成怎么样的意思。我们常听到 come to realize 就是表达慢慢的了解，我终于了解的意思。以上是今天的讲解，谢谢收听。
That's all the time we have. We hope you really enjoyed learning about the novel Little Women, the author Louisa May Alcott, and some of the ideas and themes that she hoped to communicate, or the least that you can come away from the book having a better understanding of how life was back then for these ladies. For English Digest, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Tom.
See ya.
Goodbye.